Hey Stillwater, welcome to the Still Connect podcast, a podcast all about Stillwater, Oklahoma. I'm your host, Denver Evans, a born and raised Stillwater local and owner of Stillwater Digital Marketing. Every Wednesday, I share a friendly chat with a local business owner or community leader that is helping make Stillwater a great place to live. Whether you're a longtime resident or just a visitor, this is your place to plug in, stay inspired, and still connect with the stories that shape our community. This is a mobile podcast that I record on location, and if you ever want to watch these interviews, you can check them out on YouTube. For this episode, I'm excited to share this conversation I had with Sara Priest with CASA for Kids. Let's jump right in.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. It's great to meet you finally. So give me a little bit of an overview about you and your position and tell us just about what is CASA.
Okay. Well, I've been in Stillwater since, this is going to make me old. 2002, I came here to go to college and never left. I've been here at CASA for about 3 years now. I've been the director for just a little over 2 years. But CASA stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates. So we have volunteers that we train and support, and they advocate for kids that are experiencing foster care. So they essentially are the eyes and the ears for the court. They write court reports, meet with the child every month, talk to everyone that's involved in the child's case, and then they show up to court and report to the judge what's going on with that child and what's in the child's best interest. And it can be their best interest permanency-wise, but also, hey, this kid needs glasses and no one's taking them to the eye doctor, or they really need some help in school. So we really advocate for the child as a whole, not just as far as what's happening, with their parents and their foster care situation, but everything involving that child.
Mm-hmm. That's really great. Much needed, I imagine.
Oh, yes.
So when did that kind of start? Not specifically CASA, but just the concept of like those advocates.
Well, it started back in the 70s in Seattle. There was a judge that realized he was making these huge decisions that affected children for the rest of their lives, and he was doing it from behind a bench. And they were kids he had never met. He did not know what was going on in their lives day to day. And he looked back and said, I really need an unbiased party to come in and be my eyes and my ears. And so that's how CASA started. It came to Oklahoma, late 80s, early 90s, and our program started in 1992. So we've been in existence for a little over 30 years. About 2014, we started serving Logan County as well. And then the end of 2022, we took on K County. So we serve 3 counties now.
That's really great.
Yeah, keeps me busy.
Yeah. So you said this started in 92. So when did you get involved?
I got involved May of 2021 is when I first started here as a volunteer supervisor.
That's great.
Yeah.
So how did you hear about it? What kind of got you connected and what made you stay?
So my background is in education. I was an early childhood teacher for a long time. And my first year of teaching and my last year of teaching, I was faced with classrooms full of kids that needed an advocate. And as their teacher, I could not do that outside the 4 walls of my classroom. And so it really led me to look at, who in a child's life is looking out for them and what's happening in their life. And that's kind of when I first became familiar with CASA. And then, through a change in career, I was able to come here and do this work, and I love this work. It is exactly where I should be and what I should be doing.
That's great. Yeah. I'm glad you feel that. A lot of people I don't think feel that way about their work.
Oh, I love this job. It is a hard job. It's a hard thing to see and hear every day. But the children's lives that we affect makes every day worth it, every hard moment worth it. And nothing makes me happier in my life than the work that we're able to do here. So this is where I'm supposed to be. This is my dream job. Yeah.
That's great. I love hearing that. So for people who have heard about CASA or maybe even haven't heard about CASA, what are some good ways that we as citizens and community members can get involved?
So we always need CASA volunteers, the people that advocate for the children.
Okay, so they're all volunteers?
Yes,
Okay.
they are. Yeah. We have about 60 volunteers that are active right now assigned to cases. But any given day, just in our community in Payne County, there's 100 children that are in out-of-home care. So we do not have enough volunteers to advocate for all of those children. So we always need more volunteers.
So tell me, what does out-of-home care mean for people who might not know?
Okay. So when DHS gets involved in a child's life because of abuse or neglect, they're removed from their home and either put in foster care, put in a kinship placement, put with a family member, or unfortunately, sometimes they end up in a youth shelter or a different institution.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And you
those
mentioned
kids are in out-of-home care.
Yeah. So you mentioned before we got started that you're a foster parent?
Yes, I am. Doing this work, I have for years sat in rooms and listened to people talk about the fact that we don't have enough foster families. And I know these children's stories and have to hear their DHS workers saying, I have to pull them out of a foster home and I have nowhere to take them.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be in our office all day today, all day tomorrow, until we can find a home. I'm a fixer. And so, my husband doesn't know how to say no to my big ideas.
You don't know how to say no to the kids, and then your husband doesn't know how to say no to you.
Right, exactly. And so we became foster parents. About this time last year was when we took our first placement. And then the foster kiddo we have right now, she's been with us. It'll be a year in January.
That's great.
So, yeah, it's been a new adventure.
Yeah.
But I've loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So tell me about your time in Stillwater. So you said you came here to OSU?
Yes, I came here to get a degree in elementary education, which I did. And I taught here at Presbyterian Preschool for a long time.
Oh, yeah. What years were you a Presbyterian?
I was there. Oh, my gosh. I'm so bad at years. I left in 2015, and I was there for about 6 years before that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I went to Presbyterian when I was way
Oh.
little. That was
Oh,
probably,
nice.
I'm sure that was way before your time. We're close.
Yeah, yes.
We're close enough in age where that's not the case, but
Yeah, but it's been such a great program in Stillwater for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who love to send their kids there.
Yes. Yeah. And before that, I taught fifth grade at an elementary school in Tulsa. I commuted for a while. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That sounds like quite a commute.
It was, but it kind of gave me time to think about my day on the way to work and defrag before I got home.
Yeah.
So
That's nice.
It worked out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to college here. By the time I graduated, I was with my husband at the time. He owned a business here. And so we stayed here, had babies, started raising kids here. This is a great community to raise kids in. I grew up in Dallas, and I would not want to take my children there and try to raise them there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love this community, and I can't imagine living anywhere else.
That's great. What are some of your favorite things about Stillwater, events we have, places to go?
Well, my favorite thing about Stillwater is the way our community shows up for each other. It's really unlike any other community I've experienced. Anytime we have a need for anything, I can put it out there on the internet, send an email, and I have that need fulfilled within an hour, which is an amazing thing to be able to do when you're working with kids that need help with stuff.
Yeah.
But outside of work, my favorite event annually is the art festival.
Yeah.
And it's kind of moved around downtown, Prairie Arts. I was involved with that with the Stillwater Arts and Humanities Council for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So I helped them out with that for a few years. But that's my favorite event every year. My favorite businesses in Stillwater, I mean, Prairie Arts, I love to go and do their weekend workshops.
Yeah.
I did the big abstract painting.
Oh, yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So that's kind of my de-stressor is just being creative. So
Yeah.
yeah. And we've been there as a staff and painted ceramics, and
Mhm.
it's just a fun place to go and try out new things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So tell me more about just what it's like day to day running a nonprofit where that people who maybe just have like a 9-to-5 job or run a small business that's not kind of in that sphere.
Right.
What does that look like?
So my day starts as soon as I wake up in the morning. I have emails waiting on me about new kids that have come into care overnight. You know, we have an emergency instead. And the nature of court, you really never know how long that's going to last.
Mhm.
So I could be there for 10 minutes or I could be there all morning. So a nonprofit, I work for every penny that comes into this organization. I write a lot of grants, fundraise a lot of money. We do a big gala every February,
Oh, yeah.
which is like planning a wedding every year.
Right,
Yes.
But it's good when you know it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yes. So that's always a lot of work. And then, you know, it's always a need to educate the community about what we do and what our needs are as an
Mhm.
organization. So anytime I have the opportunity to go set up a table, go speak with a group of people, I absolutely want to take that opportunity. So
Mhm.
day to day, I never know what my day will look like. But there's so many things that need to be tackled and get done that, yeah, it's just being flexible and willing to do whatever it is that day that needs to get done.
Yeah. So you mentioned your gala. Tell me about that.
So every February we do a big gala, and it's been going on for years and years. I like to say it's the best gala. It's a big party. So at the gala we have a silent auction and a live auction, and a couple other fun games, and they always have a DJ and a dance floor at the end. We do a nice plated meal, and there's always an open bar so people have a good time, and we're able to raise a lot of money. So last year, our gala was a disco gala. We all dressed up 70s attire. I've never seen so many men wearing wigs in my life. It was hysterical. But we were able to raise about $157,000. So it was a success of an evening.
Yeah.
This year, we're having our event at the Alumni Center at OSU. And so we're doing an orange carpet gala.
So fun.
Yeah. So we're all looking forward to that. But we're busy gathering sponsorships and auction items and
Right.
making decorations.
Right. Yeah. So do most of your sponsorships come from local businesses?
Absolutely. Yes. All of our sponsorships come from local businesses. Yeah.
That's really great. So what other fundraising type things do you all do throughout the year?
So this year we tried something new in Logan County. We had an adult book fair. Well, we called it a grown-up book fair because we thought maybe adult book fair had a weird connotation.
When you say adult, yeah, it's
right. So a grown-up book fair, we held it at the old train depot there in Guthrie, and we actually had 200 people buy tickets and show up for our book fair. There's a small bookstore in Crescent right outside of Guthrie called Paper Pages, and she offered her time and her all of her books. So she set up a book fair with all of her books, and then we had a couple of other vendors come sell their things, and we sold tickets, and yeah, 200 people showed up to.
Very cool. So the profit that you all brought in, or the donations that you all brought in, came from the ticket sales?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then people made donations while they were there.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, sounds like a really great turnout.
It was awesome.
Mhm.
We were not expecting that many people at all.
Yeah. So what else do you guys do in terms of fundraising? Is it mostly just trying to make those local connections, or?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the most important thing to small nonprofits and communities
Mhm.
is those local connections, the local businesses that continue to support us year after year.
Mhm.
There are businesses that I know are going to show up for us every year.
Yeah.
And so it's maintaining relationships with them and then making connections with new, local businesses to grow.
That's really great.
Yeah.
So, what is kind of on the horizon for your organization?
So we always have a need for more volunteers. My vision for our organization is to be able to serve every child in our 3 counties that's experiencing out-of-home care. That would take a lot of volunteers.
Yeah.
So we're always looking to grow our volunteer base, but then we're always looking to fill in gaps that we see just with the other organizations we work with. So, we work very closely with DHS, and we work in a broken system that definitely has holes and needs, and we've seen a real need for places for families to have visits with their kids that are in care, because to be honest, a DHS office just isn't a very family-friendly place.
Right.
And
But it feels like a doctor's office.
right.
Or
Yes.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where you're going to spend your 2 hours a week with your kids.
Yeah.
And there's not always DHS workers available to help with those family times.
Right.
So we had a volunteer that was helping with a case this year, and it was a mom that was working to reunify with her baby, and she was only getting a 1-hour visit a week with her infant, which is not enough time to bond with the baby. And one of our CASA volunteers that was assigned to advocate for her child was like, look, if I can supervise visits at the CASA office, can this mom have more visits with her baby every week? And DHS said, yes, absolutely, that'd be great. And so she was able to more than double the visits that the mom was getting every week. And I really think she was able to speed up the time that it took for that mom to have her baby back in her home, because she was able to offer those additional visits. So my goal for our office is to, we have a spare room. I want to turn it into kind of a visitation room.
Mhm.
So we have a space for volunteers to supervise visits with families. It's more like a living room at your home, not a doctor's office.
That's really great. Yeah, I was talking to someone the other day. I think it may have been Brian Larison at Meadows of Hope.
Yes.
And talking about kind of the difficulty of maintaining that relationship with the parent and the child.
Mhm.
Because if the parent is, if the child is taken out of their home because of drug-related issues, a lot of times the parent then can become very depressed about
Yes.
the fact that their child has left.
Mhm.
And then they possibly turn even more to that substance or whatever that thing is that's,
Right.
they're having issues with in the first place. Not that's causing the issue necessarily, but that they're struggling with. And then that makes it even harder for them to get their child back.
Right. It's when you look at what we're asking families to do, when honestly you're probably at the lowest point of your life, it's really a battle. And the families that can do the work and do what they need to do to rehabilitate themselves and get their kids back in their home, they fought a hard fight, and they've really put in the work and the effort. But like you say, you have, you're already at your low, and we're taking your kid away, which makes your low even lower. So it's definitely an uphill battle for those families.
Yeah. And then when you don't have a community around you to actually
Right.
support you through that.
Which so many of these families don't.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes a village.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And our volunteers are really able to also support the parents that are doing the work to get their kids back. I always tell volunteers the best thing you can say to a mom that's showing up to weekly therapy appointments is, I'm proud of you. Keep showing up. Just be that one person that's encouraging them every time.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of time that's all it takes for them to know, I can keep doing this. I can keep going.
Yeah.
But otherwise they may not have that person that's saying, I see what you're doing. You're doing good. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to encourage our volunteers to be that person if they can.
Yeah. That's great. So, how can people, I know we talked about kind of like volunteering and things like that. How can people be on the lookout for situations that might escalate into a DHS involvement situation?
Right.
And what are some good tips for how to come alongside parents who they know are struggling?
Right.
The kind of, and avoiding sort of the when helping hurts
Yes.
type
Yeah.
stuff.
So in the state of Oklahoma, if you're over 18 years old, you're a mandatory reporter. So if you see something that you suspect might be abuse or neglect, you're supposed to call the DHS hotline and make a referral. And that can be anonymous. But it's not up to you to decide if the abuse or neglect is actually happening. It's just up to you to bring it to someone's attention. So I always tell people, even if you think it's a possibility, better safe than sorry to make that phone call and be the one that raises the flag. But outside of that, just, if you see a neighbor that's struggling, be the person that offers to watch their kid, or, ask them how you can help support them. Maybe you can buy groceries for them 1 week, or be a babysitter while they go to work or go to a job interview. I think we're all one or two bad choices away from being in very similar situations that the families we serve are in. So if you can step in and be a support in any way to someone like that, I think it's always a benefit to not just that adult, but also the child. Because talk about a trauma, being removed from your parents, is probably the worst thing that could happen in a kid's life. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's difficult, and I think it's hard for people to step in and try to help people who they see are struggling, because they don't know how to do it. They can be really awkward about it. They can say things that end up being really hurtful.
Right.
I think of the movie Instant Family
Yes.
with Mark Wahlberg, and they just say so many things. It's like putting their foot in their mouth the whole time. It's like, dude, you don't say that to a foster kid,
Right.
But that's part of the character development of them in the movie is them becoming foster parents.
Yes.
and making those mistakes, and those people telling them it's okay to make mistakes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, walk into a situation like you don't know anything and you want to learn. That's how I approach situations. Just walk in with an open mind and say, I don't know what you need, but I want to help you. I'm here. So just tell me how I can help you out. That's how I approach it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. So to kind of wrap up, how do people find CASA? Where should they follow you on social media?
Yeah.
How do we get plugged in?
So our website is casaforkids.com. 4 is FOR. That gets confusing sometimes. So
Instead of like the letter 4.
yes.
Yeah.
So casaforkids.com. You can apply to be a volunteer there. You can donate money there. All the information about our gala is also on that website. Our office is here in the Payne County Administration Building. We're on the 2nd floor. We're here all day, every day. Stop in, ask us questions. We'd love to talk to anybody about the work that we do. That's probably the 2 best ways to get a hold of us. Social media, CASA for Kids. We're on everything. So, yeah.
Good deal. All right. Well, everybody go and follow them. I loved what you said. One more thing before we finish. When you said that if you need something, you can share it and people will help.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of nonprofits doing that, where they'll say, hey, we need, like Lions Meadows of Hope, they'll say, hey, we need a car seat.
Right.
And people fulfill,
Yes.
that need, go pick it up, because you never know what situation people are going to be in. Maybe they're getting a child from the hospital or something like that. And so I love that. I love that you all do that, and that there are just opportunities for us to help our neighbors.
Yeah.
So.
And we appreciate the help that this community gives us, for sure.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Still Connect. I hope you enjoyed getting to hear from Sara, and there's always more where that came from. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to follow on social media to stay in the loop, as well as share the podcast with all of your Stillwater friends so that we can grow the podcast, but ultimately grow our community. If you believe in building community through these conversations, consider supporting the podcast on Patreon, where for a small monthly commitment, you can get early access to episodes, a peek behind the curtain at the podcast process, and a shout out on an episode. With some of the higher level tiers, you can get access to things like patron-only polls, special requests for the show, access to online Q&As, and in-person hangouts with me and your fellow patrons. No matter what your capacity for supporting the podcast is, every little bit helps grow this amazing community. And we all need community, so even when life gets busy, make sure you still connect.